People who have agreed to have a threesome with their partner and another person. How did it get agreed upon and how did it go? Ex-girlfriend and I actually first hooked up when she tried to initiate a threesome with me and another friend. Friend passed out immediately, so we quietly next to her. Next night, same thing. She and I started dating and eventually got the friend to join us. First couple of times were a lot of fun for everyone involved. Then the just progressively got more tedious, stressful, and is probably what resulted in the end of that relationship. Fantasy fulfilled. Not something I'm actively chasing anymore. I was the third wheel. I'm a guy. It was a random occurrence. Totally unplanned. I just happened to fit their bill. I can't speak for them, but it seemed like she was the one who wanted it. She wanted the attention on her. She wanted 2 dicks and one of them needed to be in her mouth. 10 out of 10 on my end. Except then I was left alone in Canada with a dead phone, an unpaid hotel room and regret. My friend's mom, the people I went to Canada with, had to pick me up. I had no pants. I've done 5 now, 4 MFF and 1 MMF. First 3 were awkward as hell. MFF number 1 boyfriend at the time wanted to have sex with other women. I'm bi, so he pushed for threesomes. We met her at a school event college and I suggested her. He barely paid attention to me, came inside her, then would go on and on about how tight she was while I was there. Experience itself was 9/10 because she gave me enough attention to make up for him. The way it was handled was 0/10. MFF number 2, similar situation. Same M. But F was a longtime friend of mine. He pushed since he knew she was bi. She mostly focused on me and he lost his mind. 4/10 experience. 0/10 handling. MMF, hanging out with 2 friends. Both wanted to have sex with me but neither wanted sloppy seconds, I guess. One guy was a straight virgin. As if it wasn't awkward enough. It was fun though. 7/10 experience. MFF number 3, different M. But guy the first was dating. I suggested we have threesomes. He found girls on Kick and AFF. We dominated her. Slightly awkward start but fun. 8/10. MFF number 4, same as MFF number 3, but different F. Much more smooth, and she gave me lingerie and a strap-on as a gift. Absolute blast. 10 out of 10 threesome. MFF number 5, matched with a girl on Tinder and she messaged me asking to get drinks that night. I agreed and she mentioned at that point that she had a fiancé, I think. And since I said in my bio that I was bi, she was wondering if I'd be interested in hooking up with both of them. I said I'd meet them both for drinks and see where it went. He wasn't as attractive as her, but she was hot and I made sure to ask whose idea it was, hers, and how long they had been together, like 5 years. We went back to theirs and had a really good time. They'd done it before so everything went smoothly. I slept over and honestly would have seen him again, but I got into my current relationship. Boyfriend from number 1 and number 2 sounds like an ass. His is one person's take on it. I went to a swingers club. Ended up joking with a guy in the smoking area about the attendees. End of the night he invites me to him and his wife's party in a few weeks' time. Night finally comes. I arrive at their home. 4 couples and 2 single ladies present and awaiting on another 5 couples. Found out I was the only single guy 20-ish in a house of 40+ swingers. The female host announced that everyone should go upstairs. I walked in after stripping off in another room to see 4 ladies on the bed in various positions with guys at each other. Next room was the same but 2 ladies and a few guys. I ended up being dragged into the first room by the host and given to his missus and her friends. Like throwing a fish to pack or piranhas. Lol. Best night ever. Still friends. Went on holiday with them last year. Smiley face. My wife asked me which of her friends I'd like to have a threesome with. I gave her 2 names. I'm dumb. My girlfriend, now wife, suggested the idea with one of my former female work friends I stayed in contact with, and we had drinks with pretty frequently. Of course I agreed to it, but it turned out the entire thing was about them hooking up. I basically got to watch a lesbian sex show while I jerked off next to them. Sometimes they'd remember I was there and pay me a little attention, but they'd get distracted by each other and leave me with blue balls, so I just moved to the armchair in the corner of the hotel room and read a book. I actually fell asleep in the chair, and when I woke up they were both passed out on the bed. The chair sleep was horrible, so I squeezed into the bed with them feeling grumpy AF. But then I woke up to them both sucking me off, which was amazing, and later that day my girlfriend gave me a hall pass to shag my friend, and that was the first time I had my dick inside a girl's butt. So even though the threesome was a bust for me, it ended up being a great weekend. You got to bumfuck a girl who wasn't your girlfriend while she watched. And you still say even though the threesome was a bust for me. There's just no pleasing some people, is there? Before we were married, I got to benefit from the fact that my ex-wife had a bunch of sexual fantasies that were complicated by moral hang-ups. First, she wanted to experiment with a woman. If it's alone, then that's lesbian shit and wrong based on her beliefs. But if I'm involved, it's not gay at all because she can just mentally say it was for my benefit. Even if it's 80% her going down on another woman that I'd never even met before that happened. Many years later, she had a cuckold type thing where she wanted to watch me f another woman and then eat her out after I jizzed in her. We had about a dozen three-way encounters with 5 different women over the years. She set all of it up, and I wouldn't ever pursue those sorts of encounters myself again. It was super fun at the time. P.S. Also, one time around 10 years ago, I was drinking with 3 friends, and the other guy suggested strip poker, but the only game of any sort in the one girl's house was Candyland. Strip Candyland takes a really long time, and the other guy got annoyed and left. That ended up being a win for me. How do you get so annoyed at a game of stripping that you leave? My wife girlfriend at the time set it up with one of her friends. Not a friend we hang out with often. While we were at a party, we went back to the friend's house and it was fun. Mutual foreplay and things like that. Then I f***ed my wife for a bit. Then f***ed the friend for a bit. Eventually finishing inside my wife. It was fun and all. Except my wife got super jealous while I was f***ing the other girl. So much so, that she really didn't like feeling that way. And while the threesome was fun, we will probably never do it again. I'm fine with that. I can say I've had a threesome, and had 2 women play with my dick at the same time. I don't need it to be a regular thing to have a happy sexual relationship with my wife. Planned a threesome the other night. There were a couple of no-shows, but I still had a good time. Not usually worth it. I've had plenty of situations where me and another female friend got flirty with a guy and went to town, and somewhere 2 guys shared me. It's typically a lot of work, and you don't get a lot out of it. The most satisfying one I've ever been in was a FFF foursome. Everyone was paying attention to everyone and it was like a big loving tangle of warmth and contact. I figured out this type of thing wasn't for me by being a third for a couple. I was the other M in an MMF threesome. It was an interesting experience, and I'm glad I tried it. The image of banging her while she was sucking his dick is still burned into my mind in a good way. It was really hot at times, but incredibly awkward at others. They were very nice people and we all got along well, but it made me feel weird being watched while having sex. I don't know, just made me hyper aware of everything I did and made it hard to get into a rhythm. By the time I left, I was pretty sure group sex just wasn't for me. Too overwhelming and performative in a weird way, and not intimate at all. I'm down for casual sex that's just physical, but this situation just felt sterile and impersonal to an extreme, like I was a tool to be used for their pleasure. Not that that's a bad thing or inconsiderate on their part, it's what I signed up for, just a reality of the situation which turned me off. I think I would be down to try an MFF at some point because 14-year-old me would absolutely murder present-day me if I missed an opportunity to make that happen, but not as part of a couple. I think I'd need all 3 of us to be on relatively equal footing as unattached singles. My extremely beautiful longtime friend was asked by her then-boyfriend to fulfill a cuckold fantasy of his. She reluctantly agreed, and after looking around on some sites she began to think, who do I want to have sex with? She decided I was the only person she really wanted to sleep with apart from her boyfriend. I flew out on an unrelated trip and she prepared to seduce me. I was hit by a car the night before she was going to ask me to f her in front of him. So my broken shoulder I later learned wound up nixing the plan that I was unaware of. I had the chance to meet her boyfriend for a little bit, and he saw how we looked at each other and decided she wanted me a little too much. This all came out about a month later. During that time, having reset her frame of mind a little, she began to realize that she was in a relationship with a terribly abusive alcoholic, and a few months later she broke up with him. She came to visit me in my home city on the West Coast for the summer and asked me to marry her. We're going to be getting married next year and I couldn't be happier. Needless to say, the whole idea turned out to be a disaster for her ex and precipitated something wonderful for both of us. I've been in 2 threesomes. The first time, it was with 2 friends that later on turned out not to be very great friends. I don't talk to either of them anymore. The threesome itself was, well, it didn't live up to the hype, if I'm putting it nicely. The second time was with my boyfriend and a close mutual friend. The close mutual friend had recently broken up with his girlfriend when I got a Facebook message from him. Basically it said something along the lines of, "I've got something to ask you. I was wondering if you'd be down for a threesome." I asked with who, and he said, "You and Tyler, my boyfriend." I haven't asked him yet, I figured I'd ask you first. I said it was okay. Brought it up with my boyfriend and he said it was okay, too. We did it that night and it was a million times better than the first one. My wife met a girl in grad school who was into the whole polyamory thing. They became friends and hung out a lot. One night, after dropping a multitude of hints, my wife karaoke'd Britney Spears' 3 to her, and getting naked to go in the hot tub, which didn't end up working because the tub's heater stopped working. In October, I finally just told her straight out that we'd love to have sexy times with her. She agreed that it'd be fun. We lit some candles and all got in bed. Everyone had a great time over the next hour or so and we all passed out, completely satisfied. We still hang out with her as friends, but she's since got into more serious relationships, so we've never revisited the sexual relationship.